Today, I'm announcing a new approach to how we manage the budget, how we manage government spending. And the essence of this is to spend less and invest more.
Canada's budget watchdog is out with a new report saying he expects the upcoming fall budget to reveal a sharp increase to the annual deficit.
This year, it rings in at $78.3 billion, well above the $42 billion deficit in the 2024 fall economic statement.
Aaron Gunn here, Member of Parliament for North Island Powell River. I'm in Ottawa where Mark Carney tabled his first budget as Prime Minister just a few days ago. Now I wish I could say this was a positive budget, one that Canadians could be excited about and support. But the truth is, it's a disaster for Canada's economy and especially for future generations. And I could sit here and nitpick all the little things that I disagreed with or that I thought were a waste of taxpayers' money, and believe me, that is a very long list. But the truth is, most of the individual items in the budget are a distraction from what should be the most important issue for Canadians, and that is the totally unrestrained, unsustainable level of spending and new debt being incurred. For context, let's take a step back for a second. This is a Liberal government that has been in power now for over 10 years. During that time, mainly under the leadership of Justin Trudeau, they doubled Canada's national debt to over $1.2 trillion. In other words, they borrowed more money than every other government in the history of Canada combined. To put that in perspective, as a percent of GDP, Canada is now one of the most indebted countries in the entire world, seventh in fact, according to the IMF. Now, before this budget was even released, the independent PBO, or Parliamentary Budget Officer, raised serious concerns about the state of Canada's finances. He called them very alarming, stupefying, unsustainable, among other things. Here, take a look.
It should be very alarming, right? These are, I don't know, I think I used the words in French, and which the translators probably got really well, like stupefying, shocking. Right? This is not like it's not a funny fiscal outlook. It's a really serious fiscal outlook. And we don't lightly use the word unsustainable. Right? Unsustainable means you don't have the option of saying maybe I'll wait a couple of years, I'll see how things go. It means if you don't change, this is done, right? So it's very serious.
Now you would think a message like that would get through to the Prime Minister. The PBO predicting a deficit of $68 billion and over $200 billion in new debt over the next 5 years. But amazingly, the budget that Mark Carney eventually just ended up releasing was even worse, with a deficit of $78 billion, the largest in Canadian history outside of COVID, and more than $320 billion in new debt over the next 5 years. And what is so important to understand, but the government doesn't want you to know, is that all this borrowing, all that debt, it comes with a cost in the form of interest payments that have to be paid now, and assuming we don't pay back any of our debt, which we usually don't, by every generation into the future, eating up a successively larger part of each budget every single year and leaving young Canadians with the bill. A point that I made during question period in the House of Commons.
The Honourable Member for North Island Powell River.
$1 billion every single week. That's how much taxpayer money this government is wasting paying interest on the debt. We're now spending more on interest payments than we are on our entire healthcare system. The result of Liberal governments borrowing more money over the past 10 years than every other government in the history of this country combined. And now they want to borrow billions more. When will this Prime Minister stop looking out for the big banks that lend the money and start looking out for the next generation of Canadians? He's sticking with the bill.
We are now spending more money on interest payments than we collect in the GST and that we spend on healthcare transfers. And with the additional debt the Liberal government is planning to take on, those interest payments are expected to rise even higher. And this is under the leadership of Mark Carney, remember, the man who was supposed to be the great savior, the expert fiscal manager, the fiscal hawk, a guy who ran a central bank, so he must be able to balance a budget, right? Instead, and this is true, he is now planning to borrow more than double the amount of money over the next 5 years as was being planned by Justin Trudeau. And yet the Liberal Party and their allies in the media are trying to gaslight everyone that this is not the case, like everything is under control, because it's not spending, it's investment. Debt is debt, taxation is taxation, and government spending is government spending.
Every dollar the Prime Minister spends comes out of the pockets of Canadians, and now the Parliamentary Budget Officer rates his deficits as, quote, very alarming, stupefying, shocking, unsustainable. If you don't change, this is done. Something is going to break. We are at the edge of a cliff. Those are the words of the Parliamentary Budget Officer. When will he stop his out-of-control spending? When he's over the edge of the cliff?
Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, there's a little thing called cause and effect. And the cause that the Leader of the Opposition is missing is the U.S. tariffs. The U.S. tariffs that are hitting steel, the U.S. tariffs that are hitting lumber, the U.S. tariffs that are hitting our auto sector. That's why we need to build this country strong. That's why we're getting spending under control. That's why we're going to spend less to invest more. I believe in this country, Mr. Speaker. I'm joining.
The Honourable Leader of the Opposition.
Spend less? Deficit spending is up almost 100% since this Prime Minister took office. And as for investment, it has fallen. In fact, $50 billion of net investment has left since he took office. And yet he repeats the same promises the Liberals have been making for a decade. They said their deficits would lead to more investment. Since they took office, investment is down by 10%, the worst investment record in the G7. In fact, with $600 billion more debt under this government, investment has fallen. How much more debt would they have to add on the backs of Canadians to reverse this disastrous result?
The Right Honourable Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, once again, it's time for a little fiscal lesson for the Leader of the Opposition.
As anyone who's managed a household budget knows, if you sit down at the end of the month and you don't have enough money to pay your bills, and it happens month after month after month, you know that something's going to break.
When do you project the budget to be balanced?
Is that a trick? Is that a trick question? a very long time.
The last point I want to make is about what the majority of Canadians see as the largest single issue facing the country today: the cost of living, otherwise referred to as essentially inflation. Not only does this budget do practically nothing to address this core issue, all this deficit spending actually makes the underlying problem worse, because when you inject more Canadian dollars into the economy, either by massive borrowing or straight up printing money, without producing more of what that money buys, you have more dollars chasing the same number of goods, leading to the devaluing of the dollar and a general increase in prices, otherwise known as inflation. So the government's budget will literally make the number one problem facing Canadians even worse, while sticking future generations of Canadians with a massive bill plus interest. It might be politically smart. Maybe it can buy the Liberals some more votes, but it's economically illiterate. Its offloading of cost to future generations is unethical and immoral, and it's why, as a Conservative, I am strongly opposed and will be voting against the budget.